exactly 9 o'clock.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Michael Harrington. Former President Trump held a rally in Nevada last night blasting the Biden administration.
Under Democrat rule, the price of gas in Nevada is up 100% from the days of the Trump administration. 2 years ago, think of it, 2 years ago, everything was so good in our country, and now it's going to pieces. It's falling apart. You now have gasoline $5 today, $5.54 a gallon. It was $1.87 a couple of years ago.
That audio courtesy of Newsmax. Ukrainian authorities began assessing the humanitarian toll in the retaken town of Lyman in East Ukraine.
After a 4-month occupation by Russian forces, the town of Lyman is just starting to come up for air. Lyman resident Anatoly told the AP that the Russians left a trail of destruction in their wake. There's nothing, half of it's destroyed. War is war. Russians shout that it's a special operation, but it's only a special operation for them. For us, it's a real war. Residents line up for humanitarian aid that they desperately needed during the Russian occupation. Local authorities are also still searching for dead bodies amid the wreckage. How they died will also help to determine if war crimes took place here. I'm Karen Chamas.
Residents of a small community in Vermont blindsided by news that one official in their water department had quietly lowered fluoride levels for nearly 4 years. The revelation in Richmond is worrying the town's residents about their children's dental health and transparent government as well. Authorities say 10 people have been killed in an explosion that destroyed a gas station in a small village in northwest Ireland. Police say the victims were 4 men, 3 women, 2 teenage girls, and a child of primary school age. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Dr. Gorka here, and I want to talk to you for a minute about the 100% drug-free relief factor. We all deal with aches and pains in our day-to-day lives, and I have had my fair share, including injuries like a detached quad muscle that I can tell you fell into the category of really bad pain. But I've been able to manage the pain by taking Relief Factor. It helps your own body to attack and fight off sources of inflammation, the source of most of our aches and pains, and I've loved it for years now. Almost 70% of the more than 500,000 people who have tried Relief Factor end up ordering more. That's because it works for them the way it worked for me. Isn't it time for you to get out of pain? Your first step to becoming pain-free should be to order the 3-week quick starter pack for the discounted price of only $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com, call 800-4RELIEF to find out more about this offer. Feel the difference.
The owner of the NFL's Washington Commanders is blasting the House Oversight Committee for a probe of his team.
The attorneys for the NFL's Washington Commanders wrote a letter to House Oversight and Reform Committee Chairwoman Carolyn Maloney Wednesday, blasting the committee for its workplace misconduct investigation into the team and its owner, Dan Snyder. In the letter, the team's legal counsel, Holland and Knight, wrote that the panel's investigation into the team has not been fair or bipartisan, adding that the panel's focus is to destroy Snyder's reputation. The committee's investigation into the Washington, D.C.-based NFL franchise began last October based on allegations of sexual harassment and workplace misconduct within the Commanders organization. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
A fire that ripped through part of Chile's Easter Island this past week has caused permanent damage to some of its iconic carved stone figures known as moai. The high temperature of the forest fire accelerated the process through which the stone carvings will eventually turn into sand. News and analysis at townhall.com. Convicted fake heiress Anna Sorokin is out of jail, but now fighting extradition.
Sorokin had to post $10,000 bond, remain under house arrest, and refrain from posting on social media. The 31-year-old, who duped New York's rich and famous by claiming to be German heiress Anna Delvey, had been held by immigration authorities since March of last year, who claims she overstayed her visa and want to send her back to Germany. Sorokin had already served 3 years in prison for grand larceny and theft, which prosecutors say include lying to banks and luxury hotels, along with stealing $275,000. Julie Walker, New York.
Sorry, you're not getting in after all. A Massachusetts law school says it's guilty of accidentally sending acceptance emails to thousands of former and current applicants. The Northeastern University School of Law blames a technical error for sending emails to more than 200 people and getting their hopes up. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This Atmos Weather Report is being brought to you by Summit Technology Group. Summit Technology Group provides advanced technical solutions to the ever-evolving broadcast industry. More information is available online at summittechgroup.com.
Your area conditions, currently 36 degrees in Rome. Here is your WKAL 1450 AM 103.3 FM Utica Rome Metro weather forecast for Sunday the 9th day of October. I'm meteorologist Charles Dixon. Cloudy in Rome, and good morning to listeners in Oneida, where it is currently mostly cloudy and 45 degrees. Heading down to 36 overnight tonight, Monday's high will be in the mid-50s. Mostly cloudy with a shower. Temperatures in the high 60s on Tuesday. Rather cloudy with a shower, cloudy. Afternoon rain. I'm meteorologist Charles Dixon on 1450 AM 103.3 FM. WKAL, more stimulating talk radio.
If you are a small business owner, it is time to answer these questions. Is your website mobile friendly? Does it look modern and pop? Can it be found on the first page of Google? If you answer no to any of these questions, or worse, you don't have a website, it is time to call our friends at Thayer 2 Design. They'll work with you to customize a website to fit your needs and help you grow. Websites start as low as $400, and yes, you heard that right. A great looking website doesn't have to cost you thousands of dollars. Give them a call today at 315-875-7989 or visit them online at RomeNYWebDesign.com.
This is Coach Big C, and you're listening to the Mohawk Valley Sportswatch on WKAL 1450.
If you smell what the Rock is cooking.
Good morning and welcome to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch. Thanks for making us part of your Sunday morning here. We got the stat man, Coach Medicis. Cody's in here as well with us this morning. I think Pags is on his way in.
He said he was.
We're not 100% sure. Got my Giants hoodie on for the Giants game. Cody's got his Giants jersey on. Coach Medicis has his Bills hoodie on. Stat man, I thought you'd come in with the Mariners jersey or something today.
You know what? I do have one, but I forgot to bring it.
Seattle, where seasons go to die.
What about the Lions? Lions? No Lions jersey?
I picked the Lions today to beat New England.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I think they're playing well.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think it happens. But the only thing is about the Lions is they're off to the same thing as last year.
Yeah.
They can't win these close games.
Nope, their defense
is played well.
Let them down.
Strong running game. They just find a way to lose these tight games. But I think they can win. Isn't New England on their third quarterback today?
Yeah, they are.
They're in trouble.
So I like Detroit.
Although he played really well last week against Green Bay, though.
I think Belichick's going to go under center today.
Love to see that. That'd be hilarious.
Well, let me go through. We got a fun show for you today. We'll do our football Sunday as we always do. Some good college games yesterday. We'll run through some high school football scores from the weekend. We'll talk to RFA coach Jake DeCola the second hour as they come down to their final stretch of the season. They play at CNS on Thursday, short week. To go from CBA on Saturday to turn around on a short week and go play at CNS, and then they'll finish at home against Liverpool, the last game of the season, which could be for a playoff spot. So we'll talk to Coach the second hour about that and more. 315-337-9525 is the line to call. You want to talk some football with us here this morning? We'll be happy to do that. Some big games from yesterday in college football. I'll run through the top 25. Alabama beats Texas A&M. A&M had a shot late in the game
on the
2-yard line, but couldn't punch one in. Would that have saved Jimbo's season?
It might save his job.
I was going to say, is he gone?
I think he's in big time trouble.
I mean, with all the money they've spent on recruiting, the NIL deals, and all that,
and his row with Saban,
and I put it on Facebook not too long ago, and I talked about it on the podcast. He's got the same exact record as Kevin Sumlin did when he got fired. So we'll see if he makes it through. I don't think he does, or he's got to at least give up the play calling duties. There's Pags just strolling in. Kind of reminds me of Brian 80 the time he was getting his tires fixed and oil change next door. Just walked in, sat down on the mic, and started talking. Pags, you on in there?
I'm on.
Oh, all right. Welcome, man.
I have the longest drive in, just so you guys know.
I know. You're always on time, too.
You had the longest drive on Friday, too.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You were telling us that, yeah.
You know, I was telling Nick I probably could have ended up playing because our baseball got done like at 6:30, 6:45. I probably could have made it.
Yeah, we were teeing off at 7. 7:15.
How cold was it, though?
It wasn't bad.
I'm not a big night golf guy.
How many times have you done it?
I don't know. Maybe
I was waiting for him to say never.
No, 2 or 3 times, I think. And I think the last one I did was up at Gulf Knolls with my brother-in-law.
Really?
And got eaten alive by mosquitoes.
Yeah, there was no mosquitoes. It wasn't that cold out.
No, it wasn't bad.
It wasn't even that dark out, honestly.
It was like a perfect night for it.
Was it? Well, we'll have to get more details on
I like
how
it because when you
played.
suck, you know where your ball goes.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Exactly.
Well, I know one team that's probably sucks a little bit here. Auburn.
Oofa.
He's got to be gone.
Oofa.
Brian Harson's got to be gone. And I like him. He's another one of those Boise State guys.
Yep.
You know, that left Boise State, and Boise State really has been struggling the last couple of years. You know, Boise State is a good job. I mean, Chris Peterson built that program to where it was, and all of a sudden it's starting to come back down. But, you know, do we see Brian Harsin make it through the year? You know who they're rumoring for this job? I saw it the other night. Les Miles.
Really?
They're saying potentially Les Miles back to the SEC.
Interesting.
And that's a big job. I didn't think they should have fired Gus Malzahn.
Right.
I thought Gus Malzahn did a good job. He beat Nick Saban a few times at Auburn, but I don't think Georgia's looked the part.
I don't
far.
either. I think they
they're
played
cruising,
really well
scared.
early on, and I think they're just kind of on cruise control right now. I mean, they won handily, but again, it wasn't the dominating performance that you would expect.
No, I think they got off to a slow start. It was 14-0 at halftime, and then obviously the second half they blew it open. But, you know, against potentially, you know, the Bamas, the Tennessees of the world, I'm even going to throw Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss in there because Lane Kiffin's team's going to score some points.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Ohio State's on cruise control.
Oh, without question they are.
I had them number 1 in my top 4. I'm going to keep them there. They are going to be a really tough out to stop that offense with C.J. Stroud, who threw 6 touchdown passes. They were up 35-13 at halftime over Michigan State. Mel Tucker has got to be in some trouble. They gave him all that money, and they have been horrendous.
Oh, I agree.
Horrendous. And I don't think they're going to make a bowl game because I think Michigan's going to beat them. I think Penn State's going to get them. So I see more losses for Michigan State and Mel Tucker here down the stretch. So thoughts and prayers to Mike Hart, the Central New York kid, collapsed on the sideline yesterday. I did hear that he was doing well, though. They're keeping him for observation.
Yeah, they FaceTimed him at halftime, and he was in good spirits, so he's doing well.
So that was
right? Is that
yeah. So I haven't heard anything more this morning, but I did hear he was in good spirits.
If he was a coach with the Dolphins, they probably would have let him coach the second half.
Sure.
Probably.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, Michigan got a little bit more explosive. McCarthy threw 3 touchdowns in the second half, 31-10 over Indiana to remain unbeaten, which poses the question, as you guys were talking before we came on the air, does game day go to Ann Arbor for Michigan Penn State next week, a top 10 matchup? Both undefeated.
Alabama.
You think they go Alabama, Tennessee?
Alabama, Tennessee. That doesn't matter. I think that's the...
They're going to be in Syracuse.
They're not going to be in Syracuse. It would have been great if it happened, but it's not happening. There's better games.
Yeah.
I think USC Utah was an option, but with Utah losing, I think you can cross that out. And then you really got to start thinking about, I know we talked about on Thursday, is UCLA for real? Chip Kelly finally got the boys playing.
You know, we're going to have to talk more about them here as the show goes on here this morning because I thought Utah would have beat them up. One thing I'll say about Chip Kelly, and I know he's the Ducks guy over here, some of the Chip Kelly teams from Oregon were physical. They used to be downhill north-south runners there with decent offensive lines. I hate to say it, but that team this year reminds me a lot of those Oregon teams that he had, except I think that, DTR, the quarterback?
Yep.
I mean, they got Zach Charbonnet, the kid that transferred from Michigan. They're really good.
Yeah.
They're a lot better than advertised. And I'll tell you, the other team, I think, is better than what people think, and people already think they're really good. I watched most of that USC game last night from the casino last night, and I'll say this. Their defense is better than what that defense has been in the past.
Yes, without question.
So if that
Leading the
defense can
country in
catch up,
takeaways.
so if that defense can catch up, I didn't think the offense played that well last night against Washington State. I thought they struggled, but they're still finding ways to win games. So I think USC is going to be a really tough out. I mean, listen, USC, UCLA is going to be a good one. USC, Utah is going to be a good one. But how the hell can UCLA not get anybody in the standstill?
It's crazy.
Your team is 6-0. 6-0 or 5-0, whatever the hell they are.
Yep.
And you look at the stands, but they pack them in at USC.
Yep.
And UCLA's as good. Don't be
It's a
surprised if
basketball
UCLA beats them.
It's a basketball school.
Well, so's North Carolina, Duke, and Kansas, but they're kind of turning things around a little bit. What?
Well, talking about UCLA, Oregon and UCLA both get a bye this week. Next week they play each other, so that's going to be a huge game. You know, that's for
and I think Oregon's
best.
playing a lot better. I mean, we talked about it the last couple weeks here. I mean, the first game you play Georgia, and you get smacked, and then since then, I mean, Oregon's looked really good.
It's a good time to get a team like that and a game like that, because then you get into the conference schedule, and then it's see where it all shakes out there.
I mean, I'll tell you, one of the teams that's going to be really, really scary, and it almost makes you wonder, what would Texas and Steve Sarkisian have looked like if their quarterback never got hurt? Viewers didn't go down. Because right now, to me, I still like Mike Gundy in Oklahoma State, but I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if Texas runs the table in the Big 12.
Mike Gundy they were in trouble. They were in trouble yesterday against Texas Tech, and they kind of pulled away.
Tech can score. Texas Tech can score.
Yeah. Well, you know, until Oklahoma State can put a season together where, again, I feel like this is the same story we see every year. Start out great. Everybody talks about Mike Gundy. He's so underrated. Then they lose a game that they probably shouldn't lose.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up with a good bowl game. They win the good bowl game. We say, man, if they could only put that one or two games. It's every year.
Well, I think this might be the year that he gets through that, because I think normally this would have been a game that they lose when they're close like this, but this one was at home. He's got a really good team. His defense the last 2-3 years has been a lot better than advertised. I mean, offensively, Oklahoma State's always been 30, 40, 50 points a game. So we'll see. But right now, to me, with Ewers back at Texas, I think Texas might be the best team in the Big 12.
I don't even think it's close. I think Texas, with him at full strength, Texas is a top 10, maybe top 5 team in the country. I mean, they look completely different with him.
I mean, take week 1. They had Alabama on the ropes.
Yeah.
They had a really good shot to beat Alabama.
Yeah.
So we'll see how they finish. But one team I know that I've been high on is Tennessee. They went in and hammered LSU 40-13. They'll get the big showdown with Alabama. I talk about it all the time. I was so happy for Josh Heupel. I'm a huge Heupel guy. Liked him when he was at UCF. And then when he got this job, everybody said, was Josh Heupel the right fit, for Tennessee? And so far, I guess he's answered that bell. And that Hendon Hooker, man, he's the real deal too.
Well, and again, I'll back that up, because I was the one that said Josh Heupel got the job because UCF was already in a good position. But man, he's starting to make me believe he's doing great things with Tennessee right now. And you're right, you were on that from the start.
I thought it was a great hire when he got that job. And defensively, they're pretty good.
Maybe Josh Heupel back to Oklahoma? I don't know.
Ooh.
Man, it's just I mean, I hate to say but
they can't get rid of Venables after
1
year.
Could they? After how bad it's going? I mean, you just lost 49-0.
I know.
In a series that you've dominated as of late. 49-0.
Yeah, but they'd have to give him 2 years.
I mean, you would hope, but this is bad. This is real. If you're an Oklahoma fan, this is real. Your whole team transferred out. So maybe that's where he gets the year, because all those Oklahoma guys followed Lincoln Riley, but 49-0.
It was bad.
Yeah, but
first time that they've not scored since 2008. Wow.
Well, and you look at the last 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, he's been shellacked.
Yeah, it's not even close.
And he's supposed to be a defensive guy.
Well, that's the thing. If they lost the game 17-0, you'd say, oh, you know what? His defense at least kept him in the game. His offense all went to USC. Give him a year to bring some guys in. But
Yeah, they've been bad.
It's not good.
I mean, we've seen crazier things. I mean, we talked about it last week on the podcast, but you're starting to see all these teams now part ways with their coach mid-season, and they're not scared to put the money up. I think they said it was like $50-something million that these teams combined, might even be more than that, to part ways with their coaches.
Well, I think Nick said it, I think Texas A&M boosters were talking. I think it was like $95 million to buy out Jimbo Fit. Isn't that the number?
Yeah.
And they're sitting down and talking about it. $95 million.
Well, I think the one thing that's hurt A&M the last couple of years, I mean, you go back to Johnny Football. They haven't really had a quarterback since Johnny Football left.
Yeah.
And you look at Jimbo Fisher the last couple of years, and I say this all the time. Go back to when he was at Florida State. Other than Jameis Winston, who has he developed as a quarterback with all that NIL money that he's had at A&M, all the great recruiting classes that he's had? Who's he had?
Yeah.
Kellen Mond?
Yeah.
Wasn't he the A&M kid, Mond?
Yeah. Well, they had Dak Prescott. Was that before him, though?
No, Dak was Mississippi State.
Or Mississippi State, that's right.
So I don't think he's really developed a and here's the other thing. I think he's got to get rid of the play calling duties.
Yes.
A lot of these coaches, now I think Heupel calls the plays for Tennessee. Some of these guys, like Lane Kiffin, calls the plays for Ole Miss, I think. If you're at one of these big-time schools, I don't think you can manage the game trying to be a coordinator and be a head coach.
Agreed.
I think it's really hard. I know Bill O'Brien did it, but I think it's really, really hard to do that. And I think right now Jimbo Fisher, when you look at his offense, it's really bad.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really bad. I mean, you got to fire yourself. To me, that tells me that he's got no confidence in anybody on the staff to call plays, which, again, I think that's on the head coach of who you picked as your assistant coaches, because you would think, even in the business world, the people you put around you, you want people around you that eventually can end up doing your job or somebody else's. So I put that on Jimbo Fisher. And I got news for you. I don't think he finishes 500. I don't think he goes to a bowl game.
No. You don't think so?
Nope. No. I think it falls off because I don't think he beats Ole Miss. Nope. And I'll pull up their schedule here as we start talking through these teams. But I think they struggle. If they go like 7-5,
I got their schedule.
Who they got left?
Yeah,
they got great. South Carolina, Ole Miss, Florida, Auburn, and UMass.
And LSU.
There's
a lot of wins.
There's some wins there, so maybe they end up getting there. But man, I tell you, I don't see many. But you're probably right; they probably do get there. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin. This was they were down 20-17 at half to Vandy.
Yes,
and then
they were.
And then they put up 35 in the second half, and they beat Vandy 52-28. UCLA, who cost me some money last night because I had Utah, they beat Utah 42-32. I did have Oregon last night minus 13.5. They beat Arizona 49-22. South Carolina, I want to talk about him here in a minute. They beat Kentucky 24-14. NC State 19-17 over Florida State, so that'll set up the game against Syracuse. And I can't even believe what I'm going to tell you guys after I finish these scores. Wake Forest continues to roll, 45-10 over Army. Last year that game was like 56-52. But Sam Hartman threw, I think, 3 touchdowns in that game, but they win. Notre Dame, I think that's a big win for Marcus Freeman. BYU's kind of come down to reality a little bit. I remember saying they could be the team if they run the table. They could crash the Final Four, but looks like that's not going to happen. But Notre Dame 28-20. TCU, Kansas, what a game. I think Kansas is back. I think Lance Leipold has done a fantastic job.
Wait a second.
When were they ever there?
Yeah, I was going to say, when were they there?
When Mangino was there,
That was one good year. That's like saying, hey, Syracuse is back.
Yeah.
No,
come on. They still played in the Orange Bowl. They were still good. He had two or three good years there when he was at Kansas.
Kansas is playing well right now. Let's not go crazy.
Look up when Mangino was there how many winning seasons he had.
I'll look it up right now.
Because I think that he had at least 3.
I don't know.
And their quarterback, I think the one year was Todd Reese.
Todd Reese, dirty.
But
all right, so Mark Mangino at Kansas, 2-10, 6-7, 4-7, 7-5, 6-6, 12-1, 8-5, 5-7.
Okay, so he had 4 good years. I'm saying good years for Kansas is 7-5, 6-6, 12 and whatever.
I mean, I can give you, yeah, okay. So you're saying 7-5, 6-6, 12-1, 8-5. That was a stretch of 4 straight good years.
For, for Kansas,
yes.
That's good.
Okay,
for Kansas that's good.
And now they're back.
They're back.
It's nice. It's good to see it. Listen, if anybody thinks, and you go back and you look at and say that because you coach at a Division III school, you can't win at the big time college level. All Lance Leipold has done, went to Buffalo that was horrible.
Yep.
Won at Buffalo, brought the entire staff over with him to Kansas, and he's had a good. Now is this a one-time deal? Maybe next year they fall off because they were bad last year.
Yeah.
But they had some close games. Is he your next coach at Wisconsin? Remember, he was the Wisconsin Whitewater coach that won,
yes, he was.
6 national championships? I think at game day, one of the signs said Saban's got 7, Leipold's got 6 national championships. Does he go back to the state of Wisconsin?
They got Oklahoma next week.
And
now, if they come out
that's
and
a win.
And they beat up on Oklahoma,
You're right.
Are we staying the same tune about we need to give Venables more time? Because, again, it's Oklahoma. And you got to remember, Oklahoma's out of the Big 12 soon. If not next year.
And they're going to get hammered.
They're going to go to the SEC. And if this is how they're playing in the SEC.
My brother-in-law corrected me.
Night.
Todd Riesling.
Oh, Riesling.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's who it was. He was on Mangino's team that went to the Orange Bowl.
Yep.
I think Oklahoma's in a state of trouble. I think they are in a world of trouble, but I think they would give him another year. He's supposed to be a good recruiter. But again, here you go, the hot coordinator that waited all these years to get a job. And many people say, well, did all these other schools, when his name got rumored for head jobs over the years, did they pass on him because they knew something? But I think he's a good guy. I want to see him do well. But going from the Big 12 to the SEC when you're getting hammered the way you are, I think Kansas hammers him.
Well, I think...
And when would you ever think that in football, that Kansas would hammer Oklahoma?
Right.
You'd never think that.
No.
Ever. Let me just finish some of these scores, then we got to go to the break, and we come back, we'll talk about these, and I'm going to give you a crazy take. I can't believe I'm going to say this about Syracuse when we come back, so you want to stay tuned for that. Iowa State falls 10-9 to Kansas State. That was a push. I had Kansas State in that game last night. Arizona State against your Huskies, Statman. 45-38, they beat them. Mike Leach continues to win after telling the one lady that was the broadcaster, asked her, Mike Leach, a question about marriage.
Yeah.
He said, you should elope.
Yeah.
Mike Leach is awesome, man.
Have your fiance call me.
Cincinnati 28-24. They beat South Florida, and as I just said, Mississippi State 40-17. So we get back. I give the guys a crazy statement I can't believe I'm going to say here about Syracuse. So stay tuned. You're listening to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch on WKAL Talk Radio 1450.
Do you want to fly somewhere, anywhere in the world? Smart travelers call myflightsearch.com for the best deals on flight tickets. Going to Manila, Bangkok, London, how about Singapore? Call myflightsearch.com for the lowest flight tickets available. What about a local vacation? Let's say you want to fly to Vegas, Orlando, Miami, Los Angeles, or Denver. Pick up the phone and call myflightsearch.com right now. We have exclusive deals that you can't find anywhere else. The only way you can get these low airline prices is by calling us. We have so many low prices available, we can't possibly tell them to you right here and now. If you're flying somewhere anytime in the next 6 months and you want the lowest airline ticket prices anywhere, you owe it to yourself to save a ton of money. So pick up your cell phone and call myflightsearch.com right now.
Call 800-277-6322. 800-277-6322. That's 800-277-6322. Call now. 800-277-6322.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800
Talk Radio 1450.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. 5 years after women's stories about him made the Me Too movement explode, Harvey Weinstein is going on trial in Los Angeles again, where he was once king of the Oscars. Weinstein is already serving a 23-year sentence for rape and sexual assault in New York. Jury selection begins tomorrow for his second trial. He's been indicted on 4 counts of rape and 7 other counts of sexual assault involving 5 women. The UN nuclear watchdog says Ukraine's Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, the biggest in Europe, has lost its last remaining external power source as a result of renewed shelling and is now relying on emergency power only. And the NFL and NFL Players Association have agreed to modify the league's concussion protocol after a very public injury to Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. He is recovering. This is SRN News.
These are tough times for everyone, so dealing with your timeshare may not be your biggest concern. But when this passes, do you still want a lifetime of payments, fees, and commitments for a timeshare you were misled into buying?
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started the timeshare cancellation industry by exposing the ugly truth about timeshares and giving folks the straight facts. I've been fighting the timeshare giants ever since, so no one knows this industry better than me and my team. Today, we have saved our clients an average of $65,000 in lifetime payments. Imagine putting those timeshare dollars back in your pocket. Give my office a call today. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call Wesley Financial now for your free information kit. 800-969-1199. That's 800-969-1199. 800-969-1199. Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
The current temperature, 44 degrees.
SRN Sports, I'm Ron DeRockstra. Some college highlights from yesterday. Jalen Milroe threw for 3 touchdowns in his first start. Number 1 Alabama made a final goal line stand and escapes with a 24-20 win over Texas A&M. Stetson Bennett raced 64 yards for a touchdown. Dijon Edwards scored 3 times on the ground, and number 2 Georgia ran over listless Auburn 42-10. It was Spencer Sanders running for 2 touchdowns, passing for another, and number 7 Oklahoma State beats Texas Tech 41-31. Bo Nix throws for 265 yards, runs for 3 touchdowns. Noah Whittington added an early 55-yard touchdown run, and 12th-ranked Oregon rolls to a 49-22 win over Arizona. Christian Turner had 2 of his number 15 Wake Forest's 4 rushing touchdowns and a 45-10 win over Army on Saturday. This is SRN Sports. Baseball wildcard results. Adam Frazier with a tie-breaking RBI double in the 9th inning, and the Mariners erased a 7-run deficit, topping the Blue Jays 10-9 for a 2-game sweep of their AL wildcard series. It was the biggest road comeback win in playoff history and baseball's largest comeback win to clinch a postseason series. Pete Alonso launches a tie-breaking homer in a 7-3 Mets win over the Padres that evens their wildcard series at 1 game apiece. Francisco Lindor also went deep. Game 3, winner go home tonight. Aaron Nola pitched 4-hit ball into the 7th inning. Bryce Harper's home run helped Philadelphia get an early lead, and the Phillies hold off the Cardinals 2-0, sweeping their wild-card series. And rookie Oscar Gonzalez with a walk-off home run in the 15th inning, giving the Guardians a 1-0 win over the Rays and a 2-game wild-card series sweep as well. With SRN Sports, I'm Ron DeRockstra.
This Atmos weather report is being brought to you by Summit Technology Group. Summit Technology Group provides advanced technical solutions to the ever-evolving broadcast industry. More information is available online at summittechgroup.com.
Your area conditions, currently 36 degrees in Rome. Here is your WKAL 1450 AM 103.3 FM Utica Rome Metro weather forecast for Sunday the 9th day of October. I'm meteorologist Charles Dixon. Cloudy in Rome, and good morning to listeners in Oneida, where it is currently mostly cloudy and 45 degrees. Getting down to 36 overnight tonight. Monday's high will be in the mid-50s. Mostly cloudy with a shower. Temperatures in the high 60s on Tuesday. Rather cloudy with a shower, cloudy. Afternoon rain. I'm meteorologist Charles Dixon on 1450 AM 103.3 FM. WKAL, more stimulating talk radio.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-607-0665. 800-607-0665. 800-607-0665. That's 800-607-0665.
This is Coach Big C, and you're listening to the Mohawk Valley Sportswatch on WKAL 1450.
All right, I got to give you the crazy take here. I can't even believe I'm going to say this. I think your 9 wins for Syracuse is not too far out of reach, Nick.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I think NC State's overrated.
I think they are.
Oh, I think somebody said that weeks ago and was
made
to feel bad about themselves.
He was lampooned.
Well, hold on. Let me just clarify a few thoughts here. I agreed with you when the preseason, before the season started, when we said, can NC State handle all the hype coming in? I agreed with you with that. But I went back and I look at the schedule. I think Syracuse beats NC State next week at home. I'm still giving them a loss to Clemson.
Agreed.
I'm going to give them a loss to Notre Dame.
Yep.
Okay, so that puts them at what?
7 or 6-2.
6-2. I think they can beat Pitt. I think they can beat Florida State. I think that they always play Wake well. Right now, I don't think they can beat Wake.
So that's their loss. That's 3.
And then I think they'll beat Boston College. So what's that? Potentially 8 wins.
That would be 9-3, my friend.
So it's close. I mean, listen, they still got to go to Pitt. I don't think Pitt, obviously right now, to me, doesn't look like they're as good as what they've been. So I think they can beat Pitt. Clemson, Notre Dame, I'm going to give them both loss. I don't think they go to Clemson and beat Clemson. Notre Dame, maybe it's at home.
Yeah.
So 8-9 wins is not too far away for Syracuse.
They scheduled the team who decided to take the mercy rule. Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
man.
Wagner's terrible.
You do realize that they schedule like 4 and 5 years in advance, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I mean, they played a UConn team that now has 3 wins.
Yeah. That's true.
So
I didn't know the mercy rule.
Again, Purdue.
I didn't even know the mercy rule was a thing in college football.
Purdue won again last game. Virginia won.
Yep.
I mean, say what you want. I mean, Purdue beat a Maryland team that we were talking on the radio. Maryland kind of scares you in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Purdue beat them this week. So again, yes, Wagner's bad. Nobody's going to argue that. But that's a game that every team plays their FCS team and beats up on them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
were you guys aware that there's a mercy rule though? That they were able to implement that?
I didn't know that in college.
Yeah,
I knew it in high school because
you can do it.
We've been in those games before.
As long as both coaches agree to it, you can play running clock in college and high school. Speaking of high school, let me run through some scores, and I want to get back into. I want to talk about South Carolina for a minute too, but let me run through some high school scores from Friday and Saturday. I'll start with the Friday games. Auburn beat Corcoran 21-20. Fowler beat Oswego 32-6. Beeville over Proctor 23-6. CNS over Liverpool 36-0. Fayetteville Manlius over Whitesboro 40-14. Wow. I guess FM's that good in
Very good.
A. It looks like they'll be the top seed in Class A. Wow. Chittenango beat West Hill 41-14. CVA over Oneida 48-6. Bishop Ludden over Skinny Atlas 27-14. Waterville over Onondaga 32-22. Yep. Phoenix over APW 36-28. Binghamton over Henniger 29-20. New Hartford over Carthage 20-7. Institute of Technology over Cortland 56-0. Indian River over Homer 36-14. Solvay over Canastota 34-20. Kaz over Marcellus 28-21. Adirondack, General Brown, both 1-2, and Holland Patton all undefeated. Adirondack went up to General Brown and beat them 30-27.
Wow.
So that'll be a big game because Holland Patton, they beat VVS 14-6. They're undefeated. Adirondack's undefeated. And I think Holland Patton's got General Brown and Adirondack left.
You shocked there? Shocked over there.
Beating General Brown?
Like, anytime you can beat General Brown.
Going up there and beating them, too?
Yeah.
My
God.
General Brown had the team running sprints after they lost that game.
Wow.
No, I believe it. Ogdensburg beat Lowville 22-6. Westmoreland Oriskany beat Southern Hills 14-7. Little Falls beats Sandy Creek.
Where seasons go to die.
31-0. Bishop Grimes beat Sequoia Valley 20-6. Thousand Islands beat Weedsport 42-8. New York Mills beat Frankfort Schuyler 28-16. And Pulaski over Jordan Elbridge 47-14. Games on Saturday, there was a full slate. Horseheads beat ESM 40-20. West Jenny over Watertown 48-12. Clinton over Sherburne Earlville 21-0. Morrisville Eaton beat South Louis 50-6. West Canada over Cooperstown 58-6. Fulton over Central Square 20-16. Port Byron beat Hannibal 34-8. CBA beat Rome Free Academy 69-21. Mexico beat Janesville DeWitt 44-29. Dodgeville over Cato 54-16. Camden still unbeaten.
Wow.
They beat South Jeff 55-15. Mount Markham beat Notre Dame 60-0. Woo.
I heard.
Beaver River 47-0 over Herkimer too. That's a big score. So we'll talk to Coach DeCole a little bit after 10 o'clock. They got 2 games remaining. They'll play at CNS on a short week Thursday night, and then they'll come home the following week to play Liverpool. I was surprised Liverpool's only won 1 game.
Yeah.
Are they down?
They're down. New coach, they're down. I mean...
So Coach Manja Carroll's gone?
Yep, Mancuso.
Mancuso, is that who it was?
Yeah. So they, just to put in perspective, I got their schedule up right now. They're 1-4 on the year. They beat Henniger game 1, hammered them pretty good, but then they lost to Beeville 40-21. They played University Prep out of Rochester. They lost 39-7. They lost to Proctor 32-20. They lost to CNS this week 36-0. And they play CBA on Saturday, so you expect they're going to get beat up by CBA. So they'll come into that game probably 1-5. Hopefully we can steal one from CNS, but if not, it's going to be a battle of 1-5 teams, possibly 2-4. So hopefully that's a game that we can win.
Yeah, and I know we'll talk to Jake. He had some injuries late in that game with both quarterbacks, but we'll talk to him a little bit about that and more. I'll tell you what, that's the first time I've seen CBA in person.
Wow. They were good.
They are really, really good. They have speed all over the place, and, they throw it all over.
Yeah.
I guess if you have a team, and I would imagine they'll cruise through the sectional champ. Who's going to beat them? CNS. Would they beat CNS the first time?
I'm looking right now. I know CBA was up early on them, pretty big. It was 42-41.
Oh, really? It was that close?
So they were up. Let me see if I can get a box score.
Ooh,
I know
okay.
they were up 28-14 at the half, and then CNS came all the way back and believe.
Oh, okay. I didn't think it was a close game. So
I believe CNS went for 2 in the win because it was at CBA.
Okay. Because I was going to say, it's going to take a team that can get pressure on them. The secondary's going to have to play really well because CBA's wide receiving core is just athletes. All down the line.
And I think people forget about CNS because CBA won the state title in Class A. CNS has been to the state final for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And they're good. So I think that's going to be, that's
your alma mater.
Absolutely, but we were never a good football team, no? Not like they are now.
They've been a lot better. Even when I played, they were okay. They weren't really the powerhouse. Liverpool was always pretty good back then. Baldwinsville was always pretty good. But back then it was all Henniger. with athletes. So we'll see. We'll talk to Coach after the break. But I'll tell you, going from playing CBA on a Saturday, to turn around and go play CNS on a Thursday is brutal.
Yeah,
brutal.
Yeah, that's a tough
Not many days for your bumps and bruises to heal up. So we'll talk to Coach. But I want to go back to some college football, guys. On the second part, we always get into some NFL stuff, and you guys are watching the Giants game. Any score yet?
3-0 Packers.
3-0 Packers? Okay. I want to talk about South Carolina because I've talked about Shane Beamer for a while. And my question's going to be, does Virginia Tech need Shane Beamer to go home following Dad's footsteps? Because Virginia Tech has just been awful. And obviously we remember the good teams that Coach Beamer had at Virginia Tech when they were actually relevant in the ACC. I know 4-2 at South Carolina. I mean, we'll see how they finish. They went to a bowl game last year. But Kentucky came in with all this preseason hype that Kentucky had a shot to win the East?
Mm-hmm.
The SEC East or the SEC West, I think the East. And they've dropped back-to-back games. South Carolina looked pretty good. You think this is a long-term job for Beamer? Or if that Virginia Tech job opens up or a bigger job, does he leave to get out of the SEC?
Wait a second. Say that again. You think?
Well, I'm just saying, like, for him, right? Virginia Tech's that's got to be home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his dad was there for so long. To see the state of Virginia Tech, the football, I mean, I guess you can throw it in there what we always want to say. Florida State, we want them to be better.
Yep.
Miami to be better in the ACC. Well, Virginia Tech has not been very good since Beamer left.
Correct.
So I'm just saying, if Virginia Tech comes open,
I think
do you think does he leave South Carolina to go coach
Absolutely
at Virginia Tech?
Absolutely. I think that's I think it's a no-brainer. I think it's a chance to kind of, continue the family legacy. It's going to put some pressure on him for sure. But again, I think Virginia Tech and, I know Jake's a Clemson guy, but you compare the two conferences, they're not even close.
No.
Like, you could have your great years in the SEC, and that's an 8-4 or 9-3.
Yeah.
You have a great year in the ACC, and you're talking you're a top 10 program, you're winning your conference title, and you're playing in a New Year's 6-day bowl. So I just think the high end of being a good team in the ACC is a lot better than the chance of being a high end team in the SEC.
Yeah,
I just don't see South Carolina becoming the Georgia or the Alabama. I mean, if right now we said, all right, let's talk SEC football. Who are your power teams? You're going to say Alabama. You're going to say Georgia. Florida's probably going to be in the conversation. LSU's going to be in the conversation. Then you say Tennessee's playing really well. Ole Miss is a top 10 team. That's 6 or 7 teams right now that we've already talked. Kentucky's a better program than them, despite the fact that they, beat them.
Yeah.
Right now they're the 9th best team.
Well, and then you go into the ACC and that coastal division, and who do you really got to beat there and compete with on that side?
I think it's like the Big Ten.
Overrated Miami.
Pretty much, yeah, that's it. Basically, yeah. So that would be a great spot for him for sure.
Well, guys, I think it's very similar to the Big Ten West. If you look at the Big Ten West right now,
Nebraska's number 1.
First place in the Big Ten West with 2 wins.
Yeah, they're
2 wins
at 2-1.
They won. They beat Rutgers 13-12.
Yeah. So you potentially could have a Nebraska against Ohio State or Michigan in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah.
Imagine if they knocked them off.
God almighty.
Seriously though, if you look at South Carolina, I mean, again, you could throw South Carolina, say like the NC States, the Wake Forest, and the ACC, where outside of this year for NC State with the expectations, is South Carolina okay with Beamer going 7-5, 8? I think you'd probably say yes. I mean, when Steve Spurrier was there, Spurrier didn't have that many great years at South Carolina. Lou Holtz didn't have that many great years at South Carolina. I know you're looking it up now to see what it was. So I think it depends on, maybe family for Beamer. Are they content down in South Carolina? Are they content with the expectations? I mean, again, if I got a chance to go coach in that part of the ACC or that Big Ten West, that's what I think right now. To me, Wisconsin, Nebraska jobs are very, very, very attractive to me because that West is horrible.
Yeah.
You got a chance to go in and win the Big Ten West every year. Now, I've said it for years. I think the Big Ten needs to split up Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, Michigan State, and flip either one or two of them to the other side, because that Big Ten East, they just beat each other up, and you're going to have probably, I mean, I don't know what Michigan's going to do against Penn State, potentially Michigan and Ohio State both sitting at, 10-0, 9-0?
Yeah.
Playing each other to go to the playoffs. So we'll see, but I think he's done a fantastic job at South Carolina. And I think the other one, Mike Norvell at Florida State, to me, I mean, maybe this is the Deion thing. And Nick from Seabus says, "Oh, Rock, you mentioned Deion for every job." I still think Georgia Tech's the best spot for him for recruiting purposes. But if they part ways with Mike Norvell at any point in this season, Deion's got to be the first call for Florida State.
100%.
His son comes, the recruits start coming. I think maybe that's the job he's waiting for. But, Mike Norvell, that game, he blew that game last night.
Oh, big time.
Against NC State. There's no doubt about that one. So is Leary out against Syracuse next week?
I don't know. I'll look that up. I got Steve Spurrier's
what do you got?
Record.
What was his record there?
He was 86-49 overall, 44-40 in conference.
Okay.
7-5, 8-5, 6-6, 7-6, 7-6.
Okay.
Then that's when they got good. 9-5, 11-2, 11-2, 11-2, 7-6, then 2-4, and things kind of went south quick. But
right.
they ended the year number 4 in the country. They were 3 years in a row. They finished top 10 in the country.
What year was that one?
11, 12, and 13.
Okay.
And those are like I think Jadeveon Clowney was playing.
That's right.
That was the Capital One Bowl against Michigan, right? Or was it the Outback?
One
of the two.
Yeah, it was one of those.
One of the two they knocked off, and they had to hit, and but they were really good at one point, and then they kind of tailed back off. But again, it's tough to win at that place. So let me look up Levy if he's playing.
Who? Oh, Leary.
Leary, yeah. Sorry.
So
But Levy.
The other one I just want to talk about real fast, and we'll go to the top of the hour. When we come back, we'll talk to Jake, and then we'll talk some NFL. How about the job Sonny Dykes has done? Everybody thought that this was another bad hire. This was pretty much a done deal when when Gary Patterson stepped down at TCU. But Sonny Dykes has come out right now, and TCU right now on paper, again, Texas has the 2 losses, but seems to be the favorite in the Big 12. But they're off to a 5-0 start. He's got that team rolling. That was a big win yesterday for them at Kansas, which is where game day was. Can't believe I'm saying big win at Kansas.
I know.
But it was. And then Matt Campbell, they fall 10-9. They're at 500.
0-3 in
Does his stock start to come down as he was the hot coach?
Yeah, he should have left
for many years. Yeah. Well, that's why I said if you're Lance Leipold right now, you're having a great year at Kansas. He probably has a shot to go back home to Wisconsin.
I think that's the gig right there for him. Go back to Wisconsin. Yep. You controlled the state of the D3. Every D3 kid wanted to go there.
Yep.
Now you go, to the big time.
What did you think of the Paul Chris firing? Did you think it was time for him to?
No, I thought it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I did too.
I think you look at, I don't have the stuff in front of me. I had it Thursday. His record overall, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was like, again, I think
he was like 44-19 or something.
It made me think so much of that Bo Pelini firing with Nebraska, and then you saw what happened after he left, where the program went, because I just thought it's the wrong move.
Here's why I think Wisconsin did it, and I want to get into some of these interim coaches and get your guys' thoughts on a few things, but I think Wisconsin did it because I think they were worried Jim Leonard's going to leave.
He was going to leave
So now you stick Leonard into the mix, young guy who there was a lot of NFL teams that wanted him as a defensive coordinator. Now he'll get his shot and see how they finish. If they don't finish strong, do they? Leonard will be probably the top. It's probably his job to lose.
I would think so.
Nebraska, Mickey Joseph. Okay, so they're 2-1. They got a shot in the Big Ten West. But like these interim coaches, if you're the athletic director, Mickey Joseph played at Nebraska, similar to Scott Frost. You got Leonard that played at Wisconsin,
right?
And I'm not saying you keep it in house like that, but these ADs have a really big decision because it's like you've taken a shot with these, I guess, the state favorites. Scott Frost was the guy who was supposed to turn things around. Even if Mickey Joseph gets Nebraska to a bowl game over 500, you can't give Mickey Joseph the job, can you? The kids are playing hard for him. I get it.
I think he's got to be at least getting an interview based on his performance as head coach. But I think you have to do your due diligence and figure out
who's out there.
You open it up nationally, and again, maybe you get some guys to come in and you say, you know what, he is the right guy. He's an in-house guy. He's already recruiting. Because he has that advantage that right now he's recruiting for next year. He's acting like the head coach. Yeah. So I think that's got to be kept in mind. I think they have an advantage in that. But you open it up nationally and you figure out who's going to – you make some phone calls like you said. Florida State opens up, you call Dion. There's certain – Nebraska, I'm sure there's going to be phone calls made. Can we get this guy back?
I guess that would be the thing is, number one, I think the Nebraska AD said it perfect when Trev Albert fired Scott Frost is you're going to hear a lot of rumors. You're going to hear a lot of names.
Yep.
And he's like, they're probably going to be true because I'm going to talk to everybody.
Yeah,
and I think that's the way to do it.
Yes.
If you call 50 guys and 4 of them say they're interested, then you interview the 4 and you go from there and you see who the best hire is. I guess the reason why I'm saying that is because I don't think Mickey Joseph is the flashy name.
No.
But that doesn't mean the guy can't coach. And it's nice to see these kids that play hard for these interim coaches. But I feel like it's like the feel-good story at the end of the year. And if you're the AD, you say, geez, these kids all want him. How do I go against the kids?
Right.
But then you also have a lot of big-name coaches that are out there.
Right. And you got to think long-term about your football program and which one's going to best position your program. Not just this year. That's the thing. It's not just a one-year thing. A lot of these guys that want him back are juniors and seniors that have played for him for a couple of years. Well, they're going to be gone in a year or two. You're looking big picture. Who's going to get this team to where we need them to get to in 5 years?
Well, I guess you can say the interim coaches right now. I mean, Leonard in Wisconsin had, he had a W. The Georgia Tech coaches won 2 games now.
Yeah.
They look like a completely different team.
Right.
Nebraska. They're sitting at first place in the Big Ten West. So far, I would say that the interim coaches are off to an early good
but
start.
You're also talking outside of Georgia Tech, Nebraska and Wisconsin were both teams that were basically fighting for that Big Ten West. They had high expectations, so the talent has always been there. And again, you also got to consider who they played against. I mean, Nebraska had to rally late to beat Rutgers. So, I mean, it is what it is. You're never going to complain about a win, but let's keep it in perspective. If all of a sudden Nebraska knocks off Penn State or knocks off Michigan or, Ohio State or plays one of those bigger teams,
that's probably the win they would need.
That would be the win where, all right, they're a serious candidate right now. Right now they're a candidate, but they need that signature win, and right now they don't have it yet.
True. Well, listen, we're going to send you a break. When we come back, we'll talk some RFA football with Jake DeCola. We got to mention some Major League Baseball. The Yankees will get the Guardians this week. Statman's Mariners come all the way back.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little baseball. We'll get into some NFL thoughts in that. Much more here on the second hour of the show. So stay tuned. You're listening to the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch right here on WKAL Talk Radio 1450.
Step up to the plate and drive a great deal off the lot today at Nye Automotive Group in Oneida and Rome.
Talk about a great team. This level of care really puts Nye Automotive Group ahead.
Yes, Nye Automotive Group's been on a roll with game-winning pricing all season long on an all-star lineup of Ford, Toyota, Scion, Buick, GMC, and Volkswagen vehicles.
Looks like we're in for a great season, folks. It's time to play ball.
Visit Nye Automotive Group in Oneida and Rome or online at nyeauto.com and come see why.
It's got to be Nye.
Hey everybody, this is the coach from the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch. Join myself, Pete Pagsman Pagliaro, the coach Nick Medicis, and the Statman Eric Coleman on our new day as we move to Sundays from 9 to 11 on WKAL Talk Radio 1450 and 103.3 FM.
I want to get my girl some diamond earrings, but I don't know the first thing about diamonds.
I was pretty clueless too, but I got Sue's engagement ring at Engelbert's Jewelers. They're the diamond authority. They helped me every step of the way.
At Engelbert's Jewelers, we can answer every question you have and help you with this most special gift from your heart. In business over 100 years, we travel the globe to offer you the best diamonds available. When you think diamonds, think Engelbert's. West Dominic Street.
Talk Radio 1450 AM, 103.3 FM, WKAL, Rome, Utica, Syracuse, New York.
The time is